It's Wednesday, May 13, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. There's a call for the Caribbean and other countries in the Americas to tackle multiple emergencies at once. It's coming from head of the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Jcan, who says she's deeply concerned about the rapid spread of COVID-19 in the region, stating that there were now more than 1.74 million cases of the virus in the Americas, with over 100,000 deaths. Dr. Jcan said countries need to take a joint approach in order to keep people safe and economies strong.
This pandemic has forced us to address three emergencies at the same time: health, social, and economic emergencies. And to be successful, we need a joint approach. So how do we address those three emergencies together? Countries must support their economies while building strong social protection networks and embracing evidence-based public health measures that are essential to saving lives. Only when countries have controlled transmission will they be in a position to implement a well-planned, cautious transition period. During this time, countries should continue to focus on health, strengthening surveillance systems, monitoring health services, and rapidly responding to any resurgence of the virus, while also devising ways to stimulate our region's economy and address poverty.
She said the need to control the pandemic was urgent as more people are now falling below the poverty line.
The sharp rise in unemployment across the region has already pushed families into poverty, and more will follow. It is forecasted that 29 million more people will find themselves below the poverty line, the majority of which will be women. Heads of state and ministers of health and finance all face the same dilemma: how to keep their people safe while also protecting the livelihoods of families and communities. It is a difficult balance to strike, but I dare say not an impossible one. Strong economic activity requires people to feel safe and confident in the future. Just as poverty and social vulnerability are barriers to accessing services and staying healthy, we cannot isolate or pit one set of solutions against the other, or we will fail on all fronts.
Over 24 Jamaican students at the University of the West Indies Cable campus say they are running low on money and supplies, and they are pleading with authorities in Kingston to assist them in getting home. The 26 students whose return plane tickets were cancelled due to COVID-19 national shutdowns are hoping that flights bound for Bridgetown and Kingston for stranded Trinidadian students could assist in taking them home as well. Our Kareem Smith has more in this report.
If all options fail, the struggling students are hoping the Andrew Holness administration will assist them with a US $37,000 return charter to the land of wood and water on a private regional carrier. Jamaica's honorary consul to Barbados, Ella Hoyos, has however given no indication that Kingston is willing to foot the bill. Instead, she insisted that Caribbean Airlines has not been making arrangements to fulfill contractual obligations to the students, who are their paying customers. President of the Guild of Students, Thatcher Luton, who has been speaking on the students' behalf, told Barbados Today she had exhausted all reasonable efforts to secure assistance or representation from officials in Kingston whose citizens are facing severe hardship. The Jamaica's pleas came just hours after Trinidad and Tobago's National Security Minister Stuart Young revealed that Trinidadian students in Jamaica and Barbados would be allowed to enter the Southern Caribbean countries' closed borders aboard a special Caribbean Airlines flight. Kareem Smith for Barbados Today.
Agriculture Minister Indawe says his ministry has been working with stakeholders to move the sector forward despite the COVID-19 pandemic, and he has commended the Barbados Agricultural Society for working with dairy farmers to improve milk production on the island. Speaking to the media yesterday as 159 imported pregnant cows arrived in the country from the United States, the minister pledged government's support and commitment to working with farmers to help them mitigate drought conditions.
I want to state that I've met with the dairy farmers. They have all shared their concerns with me as far as the industry. There are a couple of things that we can't get away from at this present moment. We are in extreme drought conditions, and so therefore we will want to make sure we do everything possible to make sure that these heifers, when quarantined, are in the best of condition so that they will not lose, or we will not lose any of the potential births. Equally, we have to make sure that we help the dairy farmers because the production of milk is highly dependent on water supply as well. And therefore we need to work with them to help them mitigate these drought conditions. And so we have the heifers, we have potential increase in milk production. And so therefore what we need to do now is to make sure we continue to build on that and to work with the stakeholders in agriculture to continue to grow the sector.
The minister also made another call for Barbadians to become involved in projects to help grow the agricultural sector.
There are many options available. There are options available in dairy farming. We can now look to dairy farming where we can increase the production of yogurts and cheeses. And equally, we can also look to dairy farming where we can produce more flavored milk for consumption in Barbados as well. There's a lot of potential available to us. It's a question of how we go forward using it. And I want to say to all Barbadians that the Ministry of Agriculture is here to facilitate them. But I would like to see more projects coming forward as well, because the more projects we have, the faster we will get the growth rate going.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from the region, the reopening of St. Lucia's economy will depend largely on the behavior of the public in adhering to COVID-19 protocols. So says Health Minister Senator Mary Isaacs, as she commended the work of frontline workers in the fight to mitigate the spread of the virus. More in this report from HTS News Force.
The minister says maintaining the quarantine protocols are critical to averting a reimposition of crippling lockdown measures.
I am saying now, as we gradually open the economy, people will start going back to work, but we have to maintain the protocols. We have to keep our mask on, we have to maintain social distancing, and we have to ensure that if we are not feeling well, we are sick, go see a doctor, report yourself. Do not infect other people if you are not well. So these are some of the things that, I have to say about us reopening the economy. Reopening the economy depends on how the people behave and whether we do not get any additional cases, because if this thing starts to recur, we are going to have to start stepping back. And the whole country, we don't want that.
And finally, the top U.S. infectious disease doctor warns senators the COVID-19 virus will spread if the country opens too soon. The health official said if federal guidelines to reopen are not followed, little spikes of the virus will become outbreaks. More in this Reuters TV report.
So I think we're going in the right direction. But the right direction does not mean we have by any means total control of this outbreak.
Leading U.S. infectious diseases expert Dr. Anthony Fauci on Tuesday warned Congress that a premature lifting of lockdowns could lead to additional outbreaks of the deadly coronavirus and hinder an economic recovery.
Because I feel if that occurs, there is a real risk that you will trigger an outbreak that you may not be able to control, which in fact, paradoxically, will set you back, not only leading to some suffering and death that could be avoided, but could even set you back on the road to trying to get economic recovery.
Appearing by webcam, Fauci offered a more sobering assessment than President Trump, who has been encouraging states to end the weeks-long shuttering of major parts of their economies.
I want it open safely, but I want it open.
Fauci strongly urged states to follow health experts' recommendations before reopening.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.